Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive I think you're going to find pretty interesting.
Yeah, this one's pretty wild.
So we're going to be looking at some notes and outlines for a potential graphic novel series called Earth's Mightiest.
Yeah, and it's not a finished product or anything like that. It's really like we're getting this sneak peek behind the curtain into how this world's being built.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like looking at the raw ingredients before they become a fully baked, you know, story.
Right, and this is like some spicy ingredients too.
Oh yeah, definitely this world the writers cooked up is intense, to say the least.
So the basic premise is it's 20 years after this global invasion by these beings called Terrarians.
Terrarians.
Yeah, they're like these subterranean super soldiers, basically.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, humanity wins the war, but the world's a very different place now.
So it's like 202X.
Right. And the notes kind of paint this picture of a world that's really on edge, like Israel's now occupying Jordan.
Whoa.
Tensions with Palestine are sky high.
Yeah.
The U.S. is struggling with like a weakened economy and deep internal divisions.
It sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the big things that the writer is exploring is this piece of U.S. legislation called the Chosen People Act.
The Chosen People Act.
Yeah, basically it allows the government to draft citizens to fight for Israel even if they don't want to.
Wait, so like drafting Americans to fight for another country?
Yeah, exactly.
That's got to be causing some serious controversy.
Oh, yeah, huge controversy. There are notes about these patriot groups who are fiercely against the act.
Okay.
They're all about America first. They see it as like a betrayal of American interests, draining resources, sacrificing lives for, these endless wars.
Yeah, I can see how people would be upset about that.
Right. And then on the other side of the coin, you have like the evangelical Christians who see supporting Israel no matter what as like a divine mandate.
Right.
They're all in on the chosen people narrative, believing it's like a test of faith, even if it means sending their own kids off to fight.
So you've got like this clash of ideologies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Patriotism versus religious fervor, individual rights versus national duty. It's all kind of coming to a head.
And it sounds like there's some pretty interesting characters caught in the middle of all this.
For sure, the writer's notes have some wild characters.
Okay, so who are we dealing with here?
Well, first up, we've got Aram Avi Ben Davidovich, a.k.a. the Messiah.
Messiah. Wow, okay.
Yeah, he's like this genetically engineered homelander.
Oh, Jesus.
Born from the blood of King David, hardcore Zionist, and he believes he's a god. Like, literally.
He believes he's a god.
Yeah, like he is the chosen one, come to lead Israel to ultimate victory.
Talk about leaning into the chosen people narrative.
Right?
So you've got him.
You've got him, and then on kind of the other end of the spectrum, you've got Stratos. He's like America's aging Superman.
Okay.
He's a new rod, an alien race that's been living among humans for centuries, and he's also like a devout Christian.
Okay, so he's got his own faith to grapple with.
Exactly. And the notes suggest he's super conflicted about the whole Israel situation in the Chosen People Act.
Yeah, that's got to be tough being like a symbol of America and then seeing this other country that you're supposed to be allied with doing some pretty messed up stuff.
Totally. There's even a mention of him witnessing this horrifying organ harvesting operation targeting Palestinians.
Whoa.
Yeah, like it completely shatters his idealized view of Israel. Imagine being like this symbol of hope and justice, and then finding out that the country you're sworn to protect is doing stuff like that.
It's like a total betrayal.
Right. It throws his whole belief system into question. Like, what do you do when the good guys turn out to be not so good?
So you've got the Messiah who's like fully embracing this chosen people narrative, and then you've got Stratos who's wrestling with his faith and his loyalty to both Israel and the U.S.
Yeah, and it gets even more complicated when you bring Stratos' daughter into the mix.
Okay.
Her name is Venus. She's America's sweetheart, this powerful superhero in her own right.
So she's following in her dad's footsteps.
Kind of, but she's also caught between her dad's disillusionment and the pressure to uphold America's image,
Right? So it's like this classic father-daughter dynamic, but with superpowers and global politics thrown in for good measure.
Exactly. It's a recipe for some serious family drama on top of everything else that's going on.
Okay, so we've got this powder keg of a situation, this Chosen People Act, dividing the nation, superheroes questioning their loyalties, and a geopolitical landscape that's just ripe for conflict. Where do we even go from here?
Well, that's where the writer throws in a few curveballs that really shake things up. Welcome back. We were talking about the Chosen People Act before the break, and it's really interesting to see how the writer uses it to explore these ideas of patriotism and duty.
Yeah, and how easily those ideas can get twisted. you know?
Exactly. Like, it's not just about supporting your country anymore. It's about this blind allegiance to another country.
And anyone who questions that allegiance is immediately labeled an enemy.
Right. Like, the notes mention these surveillance programs and detention camps for anyone who speaks out against the act.
Oh, wow. So it's like this atmosphere of fear and paranoia.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. People are afraid to even question what's going on because they might get labeled an anti-Semite or worse.
And it's not just like empty threats either. There are notes about people being deported to Israel to fight whether they want to or not.
Yeah, it's messed up. It's like the government is using fear and propaganda to control people.
And we were talking about Stratos before the break and how he's struggling with his faith and his loyalty to both America and Israel.
Right. And his story is kind of a cautionary tale about what can happen when you put your faith in an idea that turns out to be corrupt.
But then you have someone like Sergeant Sharia who takes it even further.
Yeah, his story is like a prime example of how the Chosen People Act can push people to extremes.
He goes from being a war hero to enforcing Sharia law in America.
It's wild, right? Like, he's so disillusioned with the U.S. government and what he sees as the moral decay of American society that he turns to a completely different system of law.
It's almost ironic, isn't it? He's so disgusted with what he sees as the corruption of America that he embraces something that's often demonized in Western culture.
Yeah, it's like a total rejection of the status quo. He's looking for answers somewhere else, even if it means going against everything he once believed in.
So you've got these characters who are struggling with their faith, their loyalty, and their sense of identity. And then you've got someone like Jinx who's operating in the shadows, playing all sides against each other.
Jinx is a really fascinating character because he's like the ultimate cynic.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to buy into any of the ideologies or the grand narratives.
He's just trying to survive in a world that he sees as inherently corrupt.
It's like he's seen through the BS.
Yeah.
And he's not going to pledge allegiance to any cause or any country.
He's got this Javanese background, and the notes mention this idea of Jawa centrism, like this belief that civilization originated in Java, not Africa or Europe.
Oh, wow. So he's got his own unique perspective on the whole chosen people thing.
Right. It's like he's rejecting all the traditional narratives and forging his own path.
Yeah, and it sounds like he's not afraid to get his hands dirty.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely a morally ambiguous character.
And then there's the NTR gang, this trio of criminals who get caught up in the events.
They're led by Arya, who happens to be Jinx's cousin.
Okay, so there's a family connection there.
Right. And they're involved in all sorts of shady dealings, working for this mysterious figure known as the Dawn.
So they're like the classic anti-heroes.
Yeah, they're not necessarily evil, but they're definitely not afraid to break the rules or exploit people to get what they want.
It's like they represent this more grounded street-level perspective on the events.
Right. They're not concerned with the grand ideologies or the fate of the world. They're just trying to make a living, even if it means doing some questionable things.
And it sounds like their story is going to intersect with the larger narrative in some interesting ways.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're connected to Jinx, who's connected to the organization, and they're working for the Dawn, who probably has his own agenda.
It's like they're this wild card that could throw everything into chaos.
Exactly. You never know what they're going to do or who they're going to betray.
So we've got this complex web of characters all reacting to the chosen people act in their own way. And then there's this looming question of the Sumerian prophecy and the reality-bending cube.
It's like the writer has created this pressure cooker of a world where ideologies clash, ambitions collide, and the very fabric of reality is up for grabs.
Okay, so we're back and ready to dive into the final part of Earth's Mightiest.
Things are about to get real.
No kidding. We were just talking about the whole protocols of the Elders of Zion thing and how the writer is actually making it real in this world.
Yeah, it's a bold move for sure.
It's like throwing gasoline on an already raging fire, you know?
Yeah, totally. It adds this whole other layer to the conflict, and it really plays into the organization's paranoia.
Right, because they already believe in this Jawa centrism idea.
Exactly. So the protocols just confirm their suspicions that the Zionists are pulling the strings.
Yeah, like it's all part of some grand conspiracy.
Right. And it makes them even more determined to take down Avi and the whole Zionist movement.
But then you've got someone like Sergeant Sharia, who's already on edge and distrustful of the government.
He's a loose cannon waiting to explode.
So how does someone like him react to the protocols becoming reality?
I mean, it's not going to be pretty.
It's like giving him permission to go full-blown extremist.
Yeah, it could push him over the edge, make him even more convinced that violence is the only answer.
It's a scary thought.
It is, and it raises some questions about how the writer's going to handle all this.
Like, how do you explore such a sensitive topic without endorsing those harmful beliefs?
It's a delicate balance for sure.
But it could also be a powerful way to show how easily conspiracy theories can take root and spread.
Especially in a world that's already so divided and distrustful.
Right, so it's like this cautionary tale about the dangers of misinformation and prejudice.
Exactly. And then you've got this whole prophecy angle.
Oh yeah, we can't forget about that.
Both Avi and the organization believe they're the chosen one destined to rule the world.
So you've got two sides claiming a divine right to power.
And they're both willing to do whatever it takes to win.
It's like a clash of the titans.
Literally.
And then there's the holy Teflon the Cube.
Oh, yeah, the ultimate prize.
The one who controls it controls reality.
Talk about high stakes.
So it's like this three-way battle for supremacy.
The Messiah, the organization, and whoever gets their hands on the cube.
It's enough to make your head spin.
It's definitely a wild ride.
But it all comes back to that central question. Who are the real chosen people?
Is it about bloodlines or destiny, or is it something else entirely?
It's a question that's been debated for centuries.
And this story takes it to a whole new level.
So we've come to the end of our deep dive into Earth's mightiest. And I have to say, I'm blown away by the sheer scope of this world.
It's definitely ambitious.
We've got superpowers, conspiracies, political intrigue, religious fervor, and a whole lot of moral ambiguity.
It's like the writer threw everything into the mix and turned it up to 11.
But it's also incredibly thought-provoking.
It makes you question everything you thought you knew about power and identity and the choices we make.
And in a world where reality itself is up for grabs, who gets to decide what's real and what's not?
That's the ultimate question, isn't it?
So as we step back from this world, we're left with a lot to think about.
Hopefully more questions than answers.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Earth's mightiest. We'll see you next time.